So I have been home on mental health leave for 2 months now, and the shit went fast. It went fast. and I've been sitting with a lot of things during this time, and one of the things that I've really been sitting with is learning how to sit my ass down somewhere. Like, because I'm just so used to always moving around. It started October 31st, 1989, when my mom had my little brother. And I was the co-parent to my mom and just always responsible for my brother. And then when the change of life baby came, when I was 19, even though I was in college, I still helped my mom out with my brother. And pretty much every job that I worked at, even if I started off in like a lower level position, eventually if I stayed around long enough, I worked myself up to be in a leadership position. And then in my family, as not even like, I'm kind of up there older, but I was always treated like an elder, and just always that cousin that everybody depended on. Yeah, I've always just had to just do stuff for everybody. And now that I am in this space of I'm not at work, so I'm not in charge of nobody, but in my house, which is my wife and my son. So I'm still momming and still wifing. I'm still learning to find that balance too, like knowing when to ask my wife to step in and handle some things, and actually allow her to step in and handle things, because that's another thing that I'm working through. Not always being in control of everything. So it's only been 2 months, and this is since 1989. So I'm trying to unravel a lot of stuff. I'm getting better, but I can say there are times where I'm bored, because it's like I'm just used to always doing something. And even when I'm home and maybe my son didn't have school, or my wife said that, hey, don't worry about it, I'll take him to school. Like, I'll get up and I'll, like, what my mom calls put around the house. So I'm like around the house looking for stuff to do. I don't know how to just lay in the bed and not do something. I'm like, you know what, let me get up and do yoga, because I'm so used to getting up 4 or 5 in the morning to do yoga, to journal, to meditate, do all of these things before I get my son up and get ready for school and we go to work. I don't have to, my schedule's different now. So it's like I'm still learning how to just be still. And it's hard being still. And also being a person who is an empath, and I deeply feel everything. So I have a hard time learning how to sit with everything that I'm feeling, because I know that I'm still working on spiritual boundaries. So not only am I feeling my stuff, but sometimes I'm feeling other people's stuff. So it's like I'm sitting and I'm like, is my shit that I'm sitting with, or is this somebody else? It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And then just having other abilities, it's a lot. It gets noisy, and not even, knowing like what any of that was until I journeyed with Mother Ayahuasca 3 years ago. This is last year was the first year I didn't do it, but I did it consistently for 2 years straight. I want to say my first year was 2003, and then I did it again in 2024. And I feel like I came back online. I always say that my son, when I had my son in 2018, I say that I woke up. I went through this death during birth, and then I came out like a totally different person. Whereas I learned a long time ago to not show emotions. I didn't cry. I remember in college watching the movie Crash with my roommate at the time. And you know the scene when he goes to shoot the gun, the guy that was having an issue with the lock, and he goes to shoot the gun, and it's more to that, but that's what the gist of it. The guy, the lock, and he thought they were like breaking in, or I think they did break in, but he goes to shoot the gun. And I remembered in the movie that it was blanks. I remembered that. My roommate didn't remember that. So when the guy goes to shoot the gun, she like jumps and starts crying, and I'm like, I didn't cry. And she like, the fuck, you a robot? I'm like, no, I remember it wasn't blanks in the gun. But also, like, I just, for a very long time, that probably wasn't a good example, because I did know that there was blanks in the gun, but I probably could have used another example. But the point was that prior to having my son, I just learned a long time ago to suck it up, buttercup, because ain't nobody saving you. Like, I was the person that was responsible for people emotionally. So for a very long time, up until I had my, so I had my son at 32. So from the age of 3, when my brother was born, until 32, no emotion. Like, I stopped a long time ago. And so when I had him, all these emotions came back online. And then I journeyed with ayahuasca, and then I started to remember like all of these gifts. So there's a lot of times when I'm trying to go to sleep and I just hear shit, and I'm like, yo, what is that? One time somebody was talking about me, and I can hear her. We're not friends anymore. I can hear her talking about me while I was trying to go to sleep. And so I'm sharing all that to say, I've only been home on mental health leave for 2 months, and I am trying to unpack years, over 3 decades of like shit. And I only been home for 2 months. And it's hard. It's hard to sit still knowing all of that, and then feeling like you don't really have anybody to talk to. Now, I do have who I call my spiritual girlies that, you know, like we'll talk to each other, child. We'll talk to each other every now and again. We talk to each other mainly on like social media, TikTok and Instagram. We'll text each other because we follow each other on this app called Pattern, and I love the app. It's like a spiritual type of app, and it talks about like your placement chart and all that. I'm still learning. I'm a babe in it now. These young ladies, they're younger than me, but they've been doing this for a little while longer. But you know, I do I keep in contact with them. But if I'm being completely honest, like, it's been hard coming into myself, remembering who I am, and remembering like why I'm on this planet again. And even though like the young ladies I just mentioned, like, I can, you know, they understand, they get it. I still have a nervousness because for a very long time I did not know how to be in relationships with females, and I didn't, like, I knew it was a thing, but I felt like, well, because I have friends, like, you know, at least I have friends. But even those relationships, they were chaotic. Like, you know, sometimes I will be the aggressor or the bully in a friendship to a friend that I felt was like weaker or couldn't defend themselves, and then the shit would be mirrored right back to me. So I would be in friendships with people who treated me exactly how I treated those friends. And I realized the root of it was growing up in a household with a mom who treated me that way, with a mom who, I guess the only way she felt like she could be in control is if like she bullied. And I feel like with a lot of parents, especially like that come from that old school generation, because my mom's 61 to 65, you know, I feel like they like bullied their kids because that's the only way they feel like that they can assert their dominance. Because they were probably taught that, and they were probably taught that, and they were probably taught that when I talk about our grandparents, and it all roots back to slavery. But I'm just trying. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to exist as this version of myself, and I'm learning to give myself grace, but it's lonely. I can talk to my wife, but my wife, we're on like 2 different paths. We're together. It's not like nothing crazy, but spiritually, 2 different paths. So we both grew up in church. I went to church from 1994, and I remember because I was baptized in 1994, and it was the same day they debuted Michael Jackson's video, Remember the Time. I remember because it came on right after church. It was on a Sunday. So I was baptized in 1994, and I went to church with my grandmother up until the age of like 15, voluntarily. No, not voluntarily. I was voluntold, to go to church with my grandmama until the age of about 14, 15. Yeah, 15. So we both grew up in church, but unlike my wife, like my wife could tell me about scripture and everything in the Bible. I don't know too much about scripture. I just was there. Like, and I feel like that's been pretty much my life. Like, even college, like, I only applied to one school, Montclair State University, LLM. Like, I applied to one school, I got in, but I feel like that was supposed to happen, right? But I can't even really tell you what I learned in college, and I was in college for 5 years. I can't even really tell you what I learned, but I made some beautiful memories. I met some friends that I'm still cool with. I got to dance. I love dancing. I love dancing. I got to get back into it now that the weather is breaking. Because that's another thing. I'm trying to learn how to go with the flow, because tapping into spirituality more and not religion, like outgrowing that. I've never, like, even though I was like in places, like I didn't quite assimilate. And so just let me just go back to college and then get to my other point. But like even in college, like I like could never like really focus. And I think it's because there was so much stuff going on at home, and you know, every time I turn around, somebody getting murdered and stuff like that, and then just like feeling like I made that choice to go to school because my mom was like, you got to figure something out. I didn't really have the opportunity to take a step back and like, okay, what do I want to do next? It was always survival mode, always survival mode. And that's pretty much how my life has been until I made the decision in January, along with my doctor and my therapist, like, listen, I need a break. I need a break. Like, I cannot function like this. Nobody should function like that. Just winging it and just going throughout life like with no sense of direction. I think that I had a pretty good life considering those circumstances, but you know, it comes to a head at the end because it's like, am I living for me or am I living for other people? And that's, you know, what I'm working through. But my wife and I, you know, both being raised with religion, and but me, like I've always been this whimsical, just sciencey, earthy kind of girl. Like when my uncle passed away when I was 14 years old, he lived to be 39. And he passed away in the year 2000, and I was 14. And I just remember the guy I was dating at the time, every time he would be mean to me, it was a very abusive relationship. And that was the pattern. So I just remember every time he would be mean to me, I would just like walk off and I would go on his back porch and I would stare at the stars and I would talk to my uncle. Like, I just intuitively did that. I would just talk to him. And then years later, I decided to, I knew better, not listening, but I learned lessons the hard way. And what I learned with ayahuasca is that I reincarnated a lot of times. So, I mean, I guess that's one of the lessons that I had to learn, that I'm hard-headed. And I learned shit the hard way. So, I remember moving in with my son's dad and his family. This was right before COVID happened. And I moved in. We were supposed to save money and then move somewhere else. Didn't work out that way. And I just remember creating an altar with my grandmother's obituary, and I didn't know what altars were. Like, my family was like religious, and I believe it was because my grandmother, when she got saved, I believe it was in 1991 when my grandma got saved. Like, that was, you know, like that's what kept her on track. And so it was kind of like everybody had to, you know, follow suit, even if you didn't agree with my grandma. Like, it was like everybody kind of just followed suit of that. And what I learned about religious people is they're very judgy, and their lives be fucked up, but they be very judgy. And so I just grew up around that, like a lot of judgment and feeling like an odd, like not like I didn't belong. Like, even though I was everything to my family, I didn't feel like I belonged. And I knew that I didn't belong because I was always outside. Especially when somebody would be mean to me, I would wander off and like go stare at the stars, because I'm like, I am from that place. I'm not from this planet. I'm not. And you know, so that's what I've been sitting with. Even in school, I had a hard time in school. I had a hard time. It was just so much going on at home. I was trying to be a parent with my parent. Couldn't focus in class, but I love school. I love learning. Love the Magic School Bus. Love Miss Frizzle. Obsessed with doing science projects. I would have science projects all throughout the house, like how to grow mold and shit like that. Like, I really just wanted to be a kid, and I didn't get the opportunity to be a kid because I had to be the co-parent with my mom. So, you know, I'm sharing all this to say that at 40, I just turned 40, I am coming into myself, and I'm remembering who I am. And it's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey.